Hey y'all, I'm Jay. I'm a vocal coach and songwriting teacher, and today I'm going to be taking a look at Angelina Jordan's version of I Put a Spell on You. Let's get into it. I believe she's 9 years old in this one. It's crazy.
I put a spell on you because you're mine.
Yes. Very rich.
Stop the things you do. I ain't lying. I can't stand no running around. I can't stand no put me down. I put a spell on you because you're mine.
Yes. So she has a very, very rich voice for her age, or probably anybody's age at that point. But I think what's really interesting, if you go back and pay attention to like her vowel shape, a lot of that has to do with her kind of sinking down here into more of like an oval shape, which kind of creates that fullness, that richness. It gives the voice maturity and also brings about a lot of beauty. Now, I'm just looking at it from like a functional level right now of just like what she's doing with her voice to kind of get that really cool effect. The other really cool thing that she's doing here is kind of that gritty texture, that that's going on. It's actually created by like the false folds kind of rubbing together. And now you don't necessarily need to know what that is, but just know that it's a trick that is created from just sheer control, very precise control of what's happening in your throat. Not everybody can do that really, really well. It takes years and years of practice. So for her to be able to do it at that age is really, really impressive. I also really like that this version seems to be like a cool mixture of like inspirations from both the original Screamin' Hawks version of it and also the kind of jazzy Nina Simone version of it too. It kind of seems like she's listened to both of them and kind of created this interesting version for, for herself. Whoever her parents or whoever raised her did a great job of just exposing her to music, I think, because you can't fake this type of sound. You have to have grown up listening to it in order to be able to sing like that, for sure.
Stop the things you do. Hey, what's up? I ain't lying.
Yes.
I love
Mhm.
you. I love you. I love you. I love you anyhow. I don't care if you don't want me. I'm
Yeah.
yours right now. Put a spell on you
Love this song.
because you're mine.
Yes. I think a lot of people misunderestimate what child singers can do. There's kind of this myth about like, oh, they're really fragile voices that can't necessarily belt or do like chesty kind of stuff. Let me tell you, for a couple of years, this type of age bracket from like 8 to maybe like 13, 14, like that age range used to be like my specialty. I used to work with kids of that age all the time. And let me tell you something, kids can belt. They're actually doing it all the time on the playground. They're lifting up their chest register when they're out just like yelling carelessly. But the thing is, they kind of have to learn how to do it in an effortless and sustainable manner. So it is possible. They just have to have like the right training to be able to do it. So just keep that in mind that it is possible for kids to be able to sing like this. Now, Angelina is clearly a prodigy. I don't know what her training was at this point, but I think it's important to note that this type of sound is possible. It just has to be really nurtured very, very specifically and well. But yeah, kids can belt. They're belting all the time. Believe it or not, kids can belt. They can do different type of vowel qualities. Ooh, ah, ooh. And she seems to tend to prefer like the darker ones as we've seen. And they can also do some kind of light distorted singing like I mentioned earlier. So yeah, kid singers, just because their larynx are still developing and your voice changes throughout time, but they're not necessarily as I don't think they're as limited as people think, because there's a group of people out there in the world that think that children should just not be able to take voice lessons whatsoever, which I personally disagree with. But everybody has different takes on it. Everybody has different takes on vocal pedagogy and whatnot. But it's my personal belief that I think 7 to 9 is like a good age to start nurturing the voice. At that point, the larynx is kind of settled into a good place to start learning some basic vocal function.
I don't care if you don't want me. I'm yours right
Oh, yes.
now.
Okay, you better sing, Angelina. All right, y'all. So that was Angelina Jordan's version of I Put a Spell on You by Screamin' Jay Hawkins. I think that was incredible, especially for somebody of that age. She was 9 years old. And I also believe that I was told that this is also her arrangement of the song, which is incredibly, incredibly impressive, in my opinion, for someone to be able to not only perform it the way that she did, to vocalize it and perform it, and to be able to write for the different sections that are kind of backing her up in the song in a way that makes sense. I think that's super, super impressive, because those are 3 different things that she managed to pull off excellently. Because typically I like to look at like the vocal performance aspect, but performing a song and vocalizing a song are 2 completely different things, and I'm just going to touch base on those 2 things right now. For right now, I'll get to the arrangement in a little bit. But the reason why I think it's so critical to distinguish those 2 things is sometimes I think people get so caught up in technique and what's happening with here and the body, and yes, all of that stuff is really, really important. But sometimes if you are not delivering using your technique in order to deliver like the purpose of the song itself and convey those emotions, it almost doesn't even matter, because at the end of the day, music to me really is supposed to make people feel something. And I think that she did an incredible job with her vocal choices in order to kind of fit the context of the song. I talked a lot about her use of the dark vowels. You're mine, oh, in there, and also kind of some of the distorted singing that she does. That kind of stuff that I think is really cool, and it adds like this level of grit and darkness and edginess to it, which for a song like this is perfect, right? Because it's kind of spooky, it's kind of scary, it's kind of edgy, and it's also the way that it was performed. The original singer of it, Screamin' Jay Hawkins, he had that kind of voice that was like gritty. That's where he got his nickname from. So it makes sense that she is it makes sense from both a historical context and just a within the context of the song itself. Her choices really lended themselves well to the overall song. So she used her technique to further the actual narrative, and I think I should say the like overall emotional vibe, the whole point of the song, right? It wouldn't have made as much sense if it was like a light, kind of airy voice singing something like this. And she probably could do a sound like that at this age, but she had the foresight, her or her teachers, I don't know who really made those choices with or for her, but either way, it was outstanding. And even the way that she was kind of using her body kind of lended itself well to the overall narrative too. She had like very open hand gestures and, kind of big movements here. It almost looked like she was trying to cast a spell, so to speak. So it all just made sense really, really well together. And again, I really liked that this arrangement had like that original blues feel to it, that it was like more on the blues rocky side, but then also introduced more like the jazz elements. So it felt like a nice mixture of the original version and Nina Simone's version, some of like the later more jazz leaning versions that this song would kind of produce later on, like the covers of it that would come out. So overall, I mean, I think that was incredible. I think that is a good display of what younger voices can do. I mean, a lot of people might hear something like this and think like, oh, she's gonna ruin her voice like that. But Angelina's well into her career now, and she's still singing. I don't know that she's had any vocal issues, but the last couple of videos that I saw, because I went on a binge of watching some of her stuff lately, because I think she, just hearing about her story and her background really impressed me. So I was curious. And as far as I know, she's still singing, she's still performing, she's still doing her thing and hasn't had any like huge issues. So, it is possible for children to be able to do some intense singing like this. Now, there's a limit to everything. You have to kind of cross certain benchmarks before you want to try certain songs. At least that's my belief. But for the most part, children still have access to the same type of vocal register qualities that we do. It's just a matter of keeping in mind that the voice will mature over time. It normally comes a little bit lower, male, female, regardless of whatever gender you identify with. The voice normally kind of, as it matures, just gets a little bit lower and sometimes richer as well. So that's always something to keep in mind. But yeah, I mean, children are very capable singers. They can do a lot. Now, that's not to say that everyone's the same. For some people, you might hit your stride later on in life. It all really depends. Every voice, every instrument is the same, but every person and every voice is actually different. So, certain people need a little bit longer to cook, so to speak. So don't put any pressure on yourself now. If you're somebody that's like learning later on in life, that might just be your time. It might just be your time now as opposed to back then. You never know. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching my reaction to Angelina Jordan's version of I Put a Spell on You. I thought that was an incredible performance. Let me know what you thought in the comments. And also just let me know what other singers or songs you think I should react to next. I still have kind of a blind spot to people that are outside of the US and the UK. So if you have any other singers, like I know Angelina's originally from Norway. So this was really exciting for me to listen to and dive deeper into because I didn't really know a lot about her. So any other suggestions like that would be amazing. It doesn't have to be in English either. I also just like looking at voices from the perspective of like vocal register qualities and vocal function. So it's like what is actually going on with the voice is kind of my thing as a teacher. I don't always have to look at the songs, but I like to have some context too, because in my mind it should all fit together. But anyways, like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. I appreciate you all. Thanks.